Hey, it's Hannah. Thank you so much for coming back and joining me for another video. Today's video is going to be the 22 books that I would like to read in 2022. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Hello. So yes, today's video is going to be the 22 books that I would like to get to in 2022. I think this video is going to be really fun and to see what I want to read because this list has me really excited. And I think it'll be fun to check in at the end of the year and see how many of these books I actually read. So I think that'll be fun. So let's jump right into it with this first book. I will say most of these books I do already own. Some of them I do not. And for the ones that I don't, I'm going to put the cover in this space. So how I'm going to do this, I'm going to break it down into categories. So the first category I'm going to go over is the books that are fantasy that I want to read, and then the books that are YA or children's, and then mysteries and thrillers, general fiction, and then I'll finish the video with the romance books that I want to read because romance is my favorite genre, and so I'm going to save the best for last. It's also the category with the most books on it. So the first book that I would like to read this year that is fantasy is A History of Wild Places. On Book of the Month, it was marked as magical realism, which I love magical realism. I'm not typically a fantasy reader, but I really enjoy stories that are grounded in reality, but have a little bit of a magical element. I love that. I'm not a huge fan of like world building or creatures or things like that. I just like a little bit of some magic thrown in. So I think that's what this has. So I don't really know what it's about, and I'm gonna stick to it. I'm gonna keep it that way. I just know, I honestly don't know anything about it, but it's marked as magical realism, and I've heard really good things about it, and so I'm really looking forward to reading it this year. So yeah, that's the first one. The next book that I really want to read this year that's also fantasy is The Inheritance of Arcadia Davina, and same thing. I've just heard amazing things about this book. This was a Book of the Month option in August, and I really liked the summary, the synopsis they gave on the website, but I was like, I don't know if I'm really into fantasy. So I kind of, thought about it for a couple months, and then I got it, I think, in November. And I mean, this cover is gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And like the back too has the roses on it. It's beautiful. I know that it's about a family where their matriarch dies and all of them get these special gifts that are magical in some way, I think. Let's check. Yeah, so it's basically their grandmother dies and the family goes to the funeral and receives their inheritance, and their inheritance is all these weird things start happening and they have a lot of questions, and I think it's because their inheritance, their gifts are magical in some way, and so they have to grow and evolve with the magic. That's what I'm going to assume. I really liked the synopsis that Book of the Month had on their website, and I'm really fascinated by this story. I can't wait to read it. The next one that I want to read in fantasy is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This has been on my wish list for the library forever. It's a beast. I think it's like over 500 pages. It's like this thick. And for me, that's a scary amount of pages. So I do want to read it. I would love to read it this year. I think it's a really beautiful cover. I know this one is more world building and stuff, but I don't know why, but I'm very intrigued by Black Sun, and so I can't wait to pick it up from the library this year. So maybe I'll have the audiobook too, just to help me out with that big book fear, The next one that I want to read, and last one in the fantasy, is The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. I read the synopsis for this book before it came out, I think, because I got this book from Once Upon a Book Club, so I was still a member of their subscription service, and I read the hint that they gave, and I was like, that book looks so cool. Then I went to buy Barnes & Noble, and I saw this cover, and I was immediately drawn to this cover, and so I looked it up. I read the synopsis, and I was like, wait a minute. wait a minute. This sounds like that book from Once Upon a Book Club. And it is. It was. So I want to read this, and I want to do a vlog with it for the channel. I want to do a vlog with it where I'm reading it and giving my opinions and thoughts and opening the gifts that came with it, because I haven't opened any of them. It's been almost a year since I've gotten this book, and I still haven't touched any of the gifts. I haven't opened them, and I want to know what they are. So I want to read this book. I want to open my gifts with you guys, and I want to make it like a whole experience. So yeah, that's the last book in the fantasy category. All right, next I'm moving on to my YA and children's books that I would like to read this year. The first book that I would like to read this year is The Inheritance Games. I am so intrigued by this book. One of my favorite books growing up was The Weston Game, and this just gives me Weston Game vibes, and I hope that it's like a fun version of The Weston Game and not like a ripoff of The Weston Game, because I feel like it could go either way. But I really loved The Weston Game. I loved the puzzle, I loved the mystery, I loved the whodunit aspect, I love the who will win aspect, and so I really want to read The Inheritance Games. I feel like it'll be a really fun story and a really fun read, so yeah, definitely want to read that. And then the next book in YA and children's that I want to read is book 6 in the Pendragon series. I've never heard about this series growing up at all. I've never heard about it at all. And it wasn't until college, my freshman year at college, one of my friends, who is now one of my best friends, was like, Hannah, you have to read these books. You have to read this series. When I go home for break, I'm bringing you back book 1, and like, you're gonna read it. And there's 10 books total in the series. I've read 5 of them, and they're so much fun. And I'm not a typical fantasy reader, but there's something about this world and this series that is just so different than anything I've ever read. And I have noticed that they must be out of print, because it's almost impossible to get your hands on them. And I don't really know why. I don't know if there's something going on, that's something that happened with the author. I don't know. Hello, it's editing me. So funny story. I just watched a documentary yesterday, and fun fact about this author, DJ McHale, he was one of the creators for Are You Afraid of the Dark on Nickelodeon back in like the late 90s. So that's really cool. Little factoid for the day. So yeah, just enjoy that. Enjoy knowing that. Okay, bye. But these books are so good. And the next one I have is book 6. And so that's my next one up. And I would love to get to it this year. I would love to read it and just keep diving into this world, because it's crazy. There's so much to it, and it's so in depth, but it's so digestible. Like, it's so readable. As someone who doesn't read fantasy and usually doesn't understand what the hell the authors are talking about, this is very accessible for me, and I have enjoyed every single book that I have read in this series so far, so I'm excited to continue it this year. All right, next up is just general fiction books. I don't really know what category to put them in, so I'm just going to label them as general fiction. And so these are the 3 books in general fiction that I would like to read this year. The first one is, oh, I didn't put this on there. I thought I did. Okay, so now we have 23 books to read in 2022, so oops, I miscounted. The first one is Layla by Colleen Hoover. I've read a couple of Colleen Hoover books this past year, and I really enjoyed them. They're fast reads, they're entertaining, they're a lot of fun, but I heard Layla is similar in style to Verity, and Verity was very weird, but I really enjoyed it. It was a wild ride. So I currently have Layla on hold at the library. I have to go pick it up one day this week, and I'm excited to read it. So Layla by Colleen Hoover. The next one I want to read in general fiction is Detransition Baby. I also checked this one out from the library this past year. I just never got around to reading it before I had to return it, and there were just other things that I had going on. I wasn't in the mindset to dig into a story that I felt was going to be very serious and need my full attention. What I do know about this story is that it involves a couple and I don't know if one of them or both of them are transgender, but I do know that one of them who is transgender wants to detransition, and then there's another relationship involved, and someone gets pregnant and has a baby, and I think all three of them are raising this baby. It sounds very messy, but I feel like it's not messy like a fun kind of messy. I feel like this is a very serious story that's going to talk a lot about what it means to be transgender, to then go through a detransition and to navigate your relationships. And I really want to be in the right mindset to read a story like this, because I don't feel like it's going to be a lighthearted, haha, oh my god, like this one was with this one, now they're with this one, and now they're pregnant. Like, it's not going to be like a fun, messy, kind of like other stories can be. I feel like this one will be a little bit more on the serious side, so I want to give it my full attention and read it when I'm in a place to really get the most out of it. Then the next one that I really want to read this year in general fiction is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm currently in the middle of Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I cannot wait to read this. I did want to read this after I read Evelyn Hugo, because I do know that the family in this story ties back to Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So I just wanted to, I know there's like no spoilers, but I would feel better reading that one first than reading this one. So that's what I'm gonna do. However, I hate this cover. I think the UK cover is so much prettier. I will put a picture here. It is so much prettier. So as soon as I'm able to, I will probably be getting rid of this copy so I can get the UK version, because this cover sucks in comparison to the other one, because man, that cover is so pretty. It's so pretty. All right, and the last book in general fiction is The Siren by Catherine St. John. I read her book, The Lion's Den, earlier this year, and The Lion's Den was so good. It kept me captivated literally the whole time. I was so into that book. It was very much rich people problems, and then like a revenge plot, and that, but like, and like spying, and you know, female friendships, and like, is she your friend, is she your enemy? And like, it was a wild ride. I had so much fun reading it. And I know this one is about, they're filming a movie on an island, and then they all get stuck on the island, and like crazy things start happening. So I'm anticipating it's going to be like that same level of like wild ride, twists and turns. You don't know like who's your friend, who's your enemy. Like, I don't know if there's going to be like a secret backstory that is going to come into play later. I'm so excited to read this book, and this cover is beautiful. I mean, this cover is beautiful. So really excited about this one. All right, now we're moving into mystery and thriller. So fun. I have a lot of books in this category, but I definitely have the most in romance, so we'll see. So this first one, the first thriller that I would like to read this year is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I read Home Before Dark by Riley Sager, and I have the rest of his books. I just haven't read them yet. Like, I have Survive the Night, I have this one, I have Final Girls, and I have The Last Time I Lie. I have all of them, and I haven't read them yet. I didn't read really any thrillers last year, and I want to read more of them because they're a fun time. And I loved Home Before Dark. I thought Home Before Dark was awesome. And I know for people who read thrillers all the time, they're probably like, that book is trash. I don't care, I'm trash for that book. Anyway, Lock Every Door, I want to read it. Besides Home Before Dark, I've heard really good things about this one too. I feel like this one and Home Before Dark are the two that people recommend the most out of Riley Sager's books. So I definitely want to give this one a chance this year. I do know that this one is a weird apartment building. This girl gets a job living in this apartment building, but she can't like have anybody over. She can't leave. She can't talk to any of the residents. And like, I don't know. I feel like there's like weird, like haunted. I feel like it's like Tower of Terror vibes. That's what I'm getting. But I don't know. I have to read it to find out. So I'm really excited to read this one. The next one that I want to read this year is The Hunting Wives by Cobb. I feel like I've shown you this book 1,000 times and I still have not read it. And it will happen. It will happen. I promise it'll happen. I hope it'll happen this summer because it feels like a very fun summery book, like a fun summer mystery. So we'll see. I'm also, this cover is beautiful. I don't know why I'm so drawn to this cover, but I'm obsessed with this cover. Like, I love the contrast of the white against the blue and the red lipsticks and the gold bullet shell against the blue. I'm obsessed with how this looks. This cover is incredible, and I'm just excited to read it. I do know that I feel like it's very similar to like Big Little Lies, but like they're a murder club instead of just like moms arguing about kindergartners, you know? Yeah, they're like a group, I don't know. It's like a group of moms who go hunting and they shoot their guns, and I guess someone gets murdered. I don't know. I don't really like knowing a lot of the synopsis before I read a book, so it's hard for me to like sit here and tell you, but yeah, so I'm obsessed with this cover. I'm obsessed with this concept. I can't wait to read it. The next one I want to read this year is Not a Happy Family by Sherry Lepina. I haven't heard really anything about this book. I do know that it is about a family, and after like a family party or something, the parents end up dead. All right, sorry about that. My phone is out of storage, and so it cut me off in a random spot. But I was talking about Not a Happy Family by Sherry Lepina. I don't really remember where I left off. I just remember that it's about a rich family, parents are dead, think the kids did it. Did they do it? I don't know. So I'm excited to read this year. The next one that I want to read is We Were Never Here. First of all, this cover is stunning. The rainbow and like the trees in the silhouette is awesome. This one is about two women. They're best friends and they go on hiking trips, and on both of the hiking trips that they've gone on recently, someone ends up dead, and the one friend is like, it's just a little coincidental that you're never around when these people are murdered. So I think it's like a did my best friend kill these people type of vibe into it. I'm super into this concept and this idea, so we'll see how it goes. All right. The next thriller that I would like to read this year is Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. This I think just came out. I don't know if I got it through Book of the Month, but it's in stores. It's out. I saw it in Barnes & Noble today. And this one is about friends that go on vacation. And I don't know if it's... Okay. So it says, one island, beautiful, wild, and strange. Moreau Island is a desolate spot in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with a mysterious history of shipwrecks, cannibalism, and even rumors of murder. It's the perfect destination for the most adventurous traveler to escape everything except the truth. 6 visitors. 6 stunning 20-somethings are about to embark on a blissful, free-spirited journey, one filled with sun-drenched days and intoxicating nights. But as it becomes clear that the group is even more cut off from civilization than they realize, it starts to feel like the island itself is closing in, sending them on a dangerous spiral of discovery. So, I'm intrigued. I'm into it. Let's go. I did read her other book this past year, The Wife Upstairs. What is this one? I did read this book. This book was really good. I hope this one is better because it sounds better, but I'm really excited for this one. I'm really into it. All right, and the last thriller that I want to read this year is Finley Donovan is Killing It. I already have this audiobook that just came off hold from my library, and I'm just waiting to finish another book, and once I finish that book, I will be digging into this one. I'm so excited. I've only heard good things. People love this book. I know the sequel comes out this year as well, so I'm gonna try and get my hands on that one too, but I gotta read this first before I can get to the sequel, you know, whatever. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this. I'm literally gonna start it this week. I'm so excited. It's time for the best for last, the romance category. And so I'm just gonna show you. I think I have 7 books on this list that I want to read this year. So we'll see if I get to all 7 of them. The first one that I'm gonna mention is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I'm very intrigued by Penelope Douglas's books. And I know they're indie published. I think so. I think they're indie published. And I know that they are very intense, and I know that they are very taboo, and I know that they are a little crazy and very steamy. But I've watched a ton of videos, and I've heard that Birthday Girl is a really good one to start with. I really wanted to read Credence, but I feel like if I read Credence first, I'm going to be scared of it. So I want to read Birthday Girl first to kind of like dip my toe into Penelope Douglas's world and kind of see where that takes me from there. But I'm going to try and read Birthday Girl this year. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm going to try and read it. But I do know it's very taboo. It's an age gap romance, and I think it's like ex-boyfriend's dad, and but I really want to read it. There's something in me that really wants to read it. So that's that one. The next one that I would like to read this year is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This is on hold at the library right now. I had it on hold, ready to pick up before Christmas, and then I went away for 2 weeks and forgot to go pick it up before I went away. So I'm back at the end of the line at like 300 people. So we'll see when I get to it. Whenever it gets off hold is when I'll read it. So excited about that. And I'm looking forward to reading that one. I mean, it did win the Goodreads Choice Awards for the best romance of the year. And if you don't know what it's about at this point, then you're probably just not into as a romance reader, which is fine. But yeah, it's a friends to lovers romance. It's two friends. They've grown apart. Something happened. They went on vacations every year. They've grown apart. Now they're going on one last trip together. And because it's a romance, we all know what's going to happen. And I'm looking forward to that. So definitely want to read that this year. The next romance that I want to read this year is It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. I had no interest in reading this book because, to be honest, I really don't like Tessa Bailey's books that much. I read her Hot and Hammered series. And out of those three, I only really liked one of them. The first one was okay. It left me liking it enough to read the next one. The second one, so the first one was Fix Her Up. The second one was Love Her or Lose Her. The second one was garbage. It was a terrible, terrible book. Just don't read it. Don't read the first one. Don't read Fix Her Up. Don't read Love Her or Lose Her. But then the third one in that series, Tools of Engagement, that one is good. That one I recommend. And I did read Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey over Christmas, and I really enjoyed that. So what the hell, I'll give it a chance. I was able to get it off hold pretty fast. I'll probably go through it pretty fast. I'm excited. We'll see how it goes. I am nervous though. I just don't vibe with her books, but I'm really willing to give it a shot because it's done so well and I've only heard good things about it. So I'm excited. The next romance that I want to read is The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. I've read 2 Christina Lauren books last year, and I've had this book on my shelves for like 2 years now, and I still haven't read it. I need to read it. It's an enemies to lovers. We love enemies to lovers in this house, and it's a vacation romance, so maybe I'll read it in the summer. I think I'm going to try and read it in the summertime if I'm not in a reading slump in the summer again, like I was this past summer. That's the hope. So definitely want to read this year. Enemies to lovers, we love it. So yeah, can't wait. The next one I want to read, I can't believe I still haven't read this book. It's Dr. A.G. Brown. I know I mentioned that I want to read this like a million times, and I still haven't read it because I don't want the series to end, but I just need to read it. I just need to read it. It just needs to happen. It needs to read it. I need to know Eve's story. I need to know how she gets her happily ever after, and I think it's like a grumpy sunshine trope. She basically works at a bed and breakfast, and her boss is like a totally stick in the mud, boring. I don't want to say boring because I don't know. Stick in the mud, very grumpy, like uptight kind of guy. And she is very like, if you've read any of these Brown Sisters books, Eve is like very whimsical and just kind of bubbly and a little all over the place and a little chaotic, and we love that. So we love grumpy sunshine trope. I'm very excited to read this. I don't want the series to end. This is my favorite romance series literally of all time, and I'm gonna be sad when it's over, but I'm gonna be so glad that I read it, so I just need to read it. The next book I want to read is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey Mcquisten. I cannot believe I still haven't read this book. I've been staring at this cover for ages, and I'm so intrigued by this book. I've never read a male-male romance before, and I'm excited to see how these two gentlemen fall in love and get their happily ever after. And I love the concept. I love because it's the president's son, and then is a prince? Is he a prince? I'm gonna say he's a prince in the UK, in England, and I'm really intrigued to see how this is gonna happen. And this might be enemies to lovers too. I don't know. If you've read this, is this enemies to lovers? Let me know, please. We love enemies to lovers. If it's not enemies to lovers, I'm still gonna read it, but I just want to know. It is a little chunky for a romance, but I'm really excited to see how these two gentlemen fall in love and their love story and how precious it's going to be. So very excited for this one. And then the last book that I would love to read this year, and honestly I'll probably read within the next couple months because it's got so much hype, is The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I read the first chapter of this book on an ebook, and I was like, I don't want to read this on an ebook. I want to read the physical. So I got the physical from Book of the Month, and oh my god, look at that print. We love big print. So hopefully I can get through this pretty fast. I've heard really good things about this book. I do know it's about a PhD student, and is it her professor, or is it not her professor, but a professor? I don't know, but I'm excited. We love women in STEM, we love women in science, and we love women who are educated and they get their PhDs, especially in science. So I'm very excited to read this and their romance and all the steaminess. But yeah, that's it. Those are my 22, I guess 23, because I miscounted, books that I would like to read in 2022. This will be really fun to see at the end of the year if I've read all of these books. Let me know in the comments if you have any books that you want to read this year that are on this list, or what you plan on reading this year, or if you've read any of these books, what are your thoughts? So thank you so much for watching. I hope wherever you are that you're doing okay and you're having a great day. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. I never know how to end these videos. It's always so uncomfortable. But thank you so much for being here and for listening to my opinions. Have a good one, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.